What lies beneath this No-vember? What truly resides underneath the truths, desires, and shadowed yeses we've long denied? This full moon in Taurus illuminates the hidden corners of our soul, revealing the consents we've been withholding, guiding us in what promises to be a tense month of necessary courage and inner vision. To use our sacred no wisely by first examining the restrictions on our own darker feminine, known or unknown, we are ultimately choosing to agree with in her absence. It wasn't a surprise, really, nothing I didn't already know, but to see it there in black and white not only explained so much of my past, it changed how I currently saw myself, or rather, synchronized with the perspectives I'd been avoiding. Sat in the Black Moon Lilith workshop, charting my own mean placement, found in the space furthest away from the earth, held in the greatest distance the moon could travel from Pachamama. The rocky theme tune that had been ringing in my head started to make a more felt sense. Beyond the yearning to exercise and work with the energy my body to this day still struggled to contain, through the recognition of this song so familiar and self-explanatory of my ancestry it was used at my own mother's funeral, past the women running outside or the rage slowly building in me for no apparent reason, to a knowing, aversion, truth, a piece of myself I'd tried to placate and push to one side for far too long, my own shadow feminine. Despite feeling her rise this week, pulled between the extra work I've been receiving and the outdated, wounded belief I needed to somehow choose between this and my own well-being, I had ignored the guilt of wanting more money, experiences, job satisfaction even. I was trying to feebly restrict. Failing to set a health routine, regardless of the time put aside for it, something that was now obvious in my own astrology, I found myself suppressing once again any sexual and creative urges to spend time with my tolerating husband, and instead sat down to take notes for this month's full moon blog. Ironically, it would seem, as I not only prepared for the ancestors' workshop on the day of All Hallows Eve and fell into some painful inherited judgments. I guess on reflection, it took the coming together of all these energies to truly understand what I had seen in front of me, mapped out in my own cosmic consciousness, upon a stark, contrasting piece of paper placed in my own 6th house, Lilith, positioned in Virgo. The perfectionism, shame, and judgments of both myself and others, based on unrealistic expectations, stared blazingly at me across the page, now waiting to be metaphorically and literally turned. But so too did the recognition of animals, the inner wild, the path of the shaman, my own drive to empower others to work with their undomesticated selka or light, alongside the power I now needed to call upon to push through the resistance I could feel towards her. If I wanted to work with this potential, my own even, rather than against myself, in order to deliver the sacred she from within me. Something we will all face with the upcoming full moon in Taurus, occurring on Bonefire Night, a time renowned for attempting to overthrow political agendas none more so than our own. Although we may see this mirrored in the collective, we are being encouraged to look at the bones of any systems that are outdated, no longer able to survive the darkness that is undeniably increasing, and, like the cattle we once fed upon generations ago, cull them to the consciousness now moving through us. The ravenous, underdeveloped rage that has risen with no creative outlet or, moreover, awareness. Call her Kali, Lilith, Baba Yaga, the crone. The name matters less than the acceptance of this stage of maturation within us all, regardless of gender. Known as the beaver or blood moon, the upcoming illumination offers a chance to focus on stability, gratitude, and emotional security through the acknowledgement of our physical needs and desires. Increasing our clarity regarding financial matters and the home or hearth of situations by celebrating the progress we have achieved through the abundance of, for some, unexpected alignment. This month is not about what we're saying no to, but ultimately the consent we are giving beneath our denials. Only here can any fulfillment through the simple, tangible essence of life be received for the creative inspiration it has always offered. With the Scorpio sun also highlighting the complexities of unformed mysteries, we can expect to feel conflict between collective sharing, receptivity, and transformation, and may find ourselves needing to big things up, be that ego or bravado. This self-interest, however judged, is a uniquely important and often most taboo essential of humanity, which, provided we can recognize the fine line between confidence and arrogance, and the individual definition this requires, is set to empower the embodiment of just how well we walk our own talk. This isn't about downloads or uploads, but implodes, the combustion of our own consciousness now necessary to bring forth the star-like collective vision waiting to be born through us. Suggesting if we can embrace our need for comfort and predictability, especially around value and self-worth, for the boost needed to support our now expanding awareness, we may just realize this was never linked to the appreciation of others, but whether we can see or are ready to receive how far we have come, and in this exactly where we could be headed. Of course, that will take releasing old perspectives, and it is here many may find themselves unstuck due to the rational fear of familiarity they have held. Placed between peace and remaining in our less than supportive practicalities, we will be reminded of the emotional chaos that comes from not expressing our own inner truths, guiding us to listen to the rage we may be feeling and ask truthfully, who is it directed towards? That being said, if we can be honest with what we do want and in this accept who we actually are, this full moon is ripe with potential and learning experiences from the more intimate relationships in our lives that center around core values, sexuality, and personal safety. Highlighting in this openness areas we may need to look at, including beliefs, often hidden, that ultimately inform any consent we find ourselves giving, both known and unknown. A time of depth, renewal, integration, and closure through alignment and hope, it is the wider spiritual attunement and heightened intuition that now seeks to move us collectively into the year of change. By recognizing any endings as an ongoing, continual physical process of integration. Through this vulnerability, we are more able to be present with what we feel for the light it is, surrendering to the emotional expansion that would develop our own crystalline bodies, not restrict them, as the necessary stream of introspection for all beginnings to take place into 2026. Aided by trust, release, and flexibility, from here we can expect shifts of the psyche to meet us where we're at. Connected from within to a greater perspective, we will start to see things differently, ourselves included, and conserve rather than restrict the energy now available to us. The feminine, once darkened, avoided, limited, repressed, ready to create something different based on what we allow ourselves to receive and conceive with, making this the perfect opportunity to reclaim the parts of ourselves we have lost or refused to embrace. As we, in this courage of truth, manifest from who we really are, representing not only what lies beneath, but ultimately what and who matters the most. Bringing us home to ourselves, we will also be supported by the final Mercury retrograde of the year, inviting any returning cycles to promote chances to spiral deeper into, rather than avoid, the more incongruent intuition held within them. Restoring the authenticity of our own morals as we acknowledge the at times outdated restricted paradigms that may have been shaping our lives, and revealing the pieces of ourselves within our subconscious, waiting to be accepted. The descent has occurred. We have discovered what remains. All that is left is the rise. Happening in relationship to Jupiter retrograde, this full moon is about defining what it means to truly belong, what this looks like, and moreover how it feels, especially from within, if we are to be safe enough to return. In remembering this physical vibration rather than fearing the psychological steps of our journey, we can be held in the comfort and nourishing waters of our own potential as one notion, neither outside nor stifled within, untapped or tame, purely present in its perfection of our own multifaceted personalities. With Sagittarius season beginning on the 21st, as both Mercury and Saturn station, the final week of November will take us in and eventually out the other side of any visions we may have for our future, returning us to the faith we've always had and yet somehow lacked for the momentum required to instigate some much needed palpable shifts. This can, however, only happen as the result of no longer silent, renewed, and inspired yeses we may have been refusing to hear. Suggesting if we can get to the bones of it all and admit the skeletal systems in place now crumbling from wear and tear, we can use this supermoon event to consider what versions of ourselves we want to carry us forward over the next 12 months. All the while, so many planets reside in Scorpio, with Jupiter in Cancer, albeit retrograde, alongside Saturn in Pisces, stationing direct on the 28th, we are set to experience a triple pulse of wave-like contractions that could create some cellular core level processing over the next few weeks. This flowing circuit of personal emotional waters within the collective, ancestral, and unconscious is set to bring forth deep psychological work and potential shared resources with every planetary activation, be that with the Sun on the 17th, Mercury retrograde on the 22nd, or Venus on the 26th. Every initiation or rites of passage will be offering an opportunity to feel into what may be stirring in the infinite reaches of our own psyche that is now ready to smooth and reshape all we touch, feel, think, desire, and as a result, create. With Mercury, Jupiter, Saturn, until the end of the month, Uranus and Neptune all retrograde this month, we need to revise, complete, and integrate in order to support anything that requires finishing. By coming back continually to the only way through it all, the vessel that holds everything, the body, which is the reminder behind Wednesday's full moon. Ruled by Venus, offering grounding and embodiment however necessary to balance the scorpionic inner intensity. As Mars shifts into Sagittarius the day before, opposing Uranus, we may experience on some level, perhaps even physically, a much-needed break for freedom, before a final dive beneath the surface on the 20th, as Scorpio once again seals the sky with its new moon conjunct a retrograding Mercury, finally releasing us like the death arrow we have become into the season of the Centaur. Highlighting over the next few weeks a need to slow down in order to ironically speed up, prioritizing a necessary increase in our self-worth frequency and nourishing our bodies with ritualistic integration, allowing the retrogrades to refine, realign, repurpose, or even repropose us. Advocating we stop hustling for validation if we wish to upgrade our own identity, recalibrate the reality we are here to create, and from this elevated energetic imprint, share our resources. We must start in our daily lives, overhauling and developing a stronger mind-body-soul connection. By making joy the lead inspiration, family and home the essence to reroute us, this month is an offering to not only speak our intuitive truth, but write, teach, and live by it. How else will we truly believe in ourselves if we cannot witness our own inner potential in manifest? Also known as the frosty moon, if we can feel into the wild inspiration of any discomfort, we can bring through changes simply by challenging our own stability, which, being a supermoon, is more likely to be in areas closer to home than their reflections in and of our own body. Facing these restrictions imposed by our own limited viewpoints can be difficult. After all, it's far easier to problem solve externally than witness internally, but it is only through this resetting in motion we can make sure we know exactly what we're signing up for. Occurring in the third decan, due to its relationship to Saturn's rulership, any focus on hardships and personal resilience can either thrive and transform for those able to work with these darker aspects, or overwhelm and subdue through self-doubt in those who may naively avoid or try to control them. With Uranus conjuncting Taurus, we could see unpredictability rise, stirring the psychological necessary shifts in our own perspective, particularly regarding resistance to the now evolving psyche. With the possibility of inspiring a rebellion towards our own old patterns, this can, when directed, however, aid the removal of their restrictions, both personally and collectively, if we choose to express our emotional sensitivities in a grounded, present manner. Shadowed by the fixed star Algol, known for immense rebirth, linked to both fierce power and, when disrespected or manipulated, chaos and discord, this placement can create the projected more deep-seated fears and traumas often hidden below the shore line of assumed certainty, and in this bring forth the chance to recognize any growth or lack of we are continuing to build upon. Linked to the Seven of Pentacles in the Tarot, now is a time of preparation and protection, often from ourselves, of ideas for the soul seeds they are set to provide. By simply ensuring the environment we are creating no longer banishes but nourishes our every nuance for the fertilizer these often judged aspects can initiate. In focusing on the groundwork, we ultimately build emotional and spiritual longevity. No matter how mundane we may find this, it will continue to demand patience, reassessments of our goals, and moreover, honest consideration of our own commitment